Alright, is everyone ready to get pissed off? Because the stories I've got for you today, man, they hurt. Especially when you realize the ridiculous reasons these games became impossible to beat. Seriously, it makes my chest tight, because you genuinely can't tell if it was pure malice or just weapons-grade stupidity. You know what I mean? Let me know what you think down in the comments. The story of Great Gurianos is a kind of maliciousness that's, honestly, it's impressive. For those who don't know, this game hit the arcades in '86. It was a pretty revolutionary beat-em-up for its time. It used this really interesting armor-breaking mechanic where you could hit and get hit in specific spots. Lose your protection in one place, and if you take another shot there, it's over. Game doesn't work miracles. Even though it looked like a standard beat-em-up, this one forced you to think, to retreat, to know when and where to strike. It was way more strategic. Maybe that's why it got ported to microcomputers like the Amstrad CPC, the Commodore 64, and of course the beloved ZX Spectrum. And surprising absolutely no one, all the ports were complete garbage. There's just no defending them. But you know how it is. There's always one that manages to outsuck all the others, the master of crap. In this case, I'm talking about the ZX Spectrum version. On top of just being bad, it was specifically developed so that no one could ever beat it. What do you mean, Guri? Like I said, Great Gurianos was way ahead of its time. Breaking armor, swords, shields, hitting at 3 different heights. All of that was way too much for the ZX's limited cartridge memory. When it came time to cram everything onto the tape, it just wouldn't fit. So, let me ask you, what would a decent company do? I'm thinking they'd either scrap the project or at the very least, nerf the game even more to deliver a complete experience, right? Yeah, maybe. But not for programmer David Perry. He decided to just delete, erase, vanish the game's ending so everything else would fit. But this left one tiny problem. What happens when the player beats the final boss? Would the game crash? Go back to the title screen? Well, David Perry thought that would be way too much of a troll move on the customer who paid for the game. So, he came up with a fantastic solution, at least inside his own head. He made the final boss invincible. That's right, you can stand there and wail on this guy for 5 straight days without sleep. The boss can never be defeated. Look, don't get me wrong, Capcom was my favorite game company for most of the 90s, but when you start to get a more critical eye, you realize not everything is as perfect as it seems. I mean, just look at the number of screw-ups the company has been making since, well, forever. But one of Capcom's biggest wins was the release of the spectacular Super Street Fighter II Turbo Revival for the Game Boy Advance. Seriously, the work they did on the gameplay, without sacrificing those beautiful graphics, was a massive achievement. But you know, it's Capcom. Even when they get it right, they get it wrong. And this time, they got it spectacularly wrong. For some unknown reason, there is a bizarre glitch that makes the American and European versions of the game impossible to finish. What are you talking about, Guri? I played it and beat it. Calm down, let me explain. The GBA version was based on Street Fighter II Turbo, the game that gave birth to Akuma, and as everyone knows, he was a secret character. To fight him in arcade mode, you had to get to Bison without losing a single round. If you did that, Akuma would invade the final fight, wipe the floor with Bison, and challenge you one-on-one. The GBA version included the exact same mechanic. No losses, you fight Akuma instead of Bison, everyone's happy. The end. Except that only worked in the Japanese version. If you had any other version, this is what you saw when it was time to fight Akuma. Yep, after showing the versus screen, the game would just skip. It would jump straight to a completely messed up image of Akuma in his victory pose, and it would stay like that forever. The worst part is the stories people told after hitting this glitch. People said this crap corrupted all their accumulated points, basically trashing their save file, and some even said it bricked their cartridge. I'd have to see that last one to believe it, but still. Do you realize what this means? To beat the game without any risk, you are forced to lose at least one round on purpose. Dude, that is so messed up. Has anyone here heard the curious case of Tokyo Extreme Racer 3? If you have, you know the disaster that's coming. If not, brace yourself, because this is one of the single dumbest oversights I have ever seen in a game. I'm dead serious. Released in 2003 for the PS2, this game was exactly like the ones before it. Race, race, and more racing. The series was inspired by the Wangan Midnight anime, which is also about, well, racing. You pull up on a car you want to challenge, flash your lights, and the race is on. Every win gets you cash, which you use to challenge more expensive racers with better cars, all the way to the end. Okay, nothing new here. The game was released in Japan first and then localized for America, which was standard practice, except there's a tiny little detail that completely broke the American version. See, in the Japanese version, the in-game currency was based on the yen. The most money you could accumulate was 999,999,999 yen. When the game came to America, the brilliant devs decided to convert everything from yen to dollars. This wouldn't have been a problem if they had, done it correctly. If you were a 100% completionist, you were unfortunately just out of luck, because some genius on the localization team simply forgot to convert the price of one of the racers. So, you get to 99% completion. You're all hyped up to win that last race and beat the game. But when it's time to challenge the great, the stupendous, Whirlwind Fanfare, who drives this car, he just doesn't show up for the race. Why not, Guri? It's simple. This dude only appears to race you when you have accumulated 100 million in currency. The maximum amount of currency the American version allows you to hold is 99,999,999. In the Japanese version, that difference is chump change. But in the American version, it is literally impossible to race this guy. To sum it up, you got screwed, all because you were $1 single short. This is one of those cases that is so bizarre. You have to see it to believe it. And even after you see it, you're still not sure. That's what happened to me when I found out about Bubble Bobble Revolution on the Nintendo DS. The game launched in Japan in 2005 with the promise of 100 different levels, where you beat a certain number of enemies to move on. Every 10 levels, a boss shows up to ruin your day. Simple game system. Shouldn't cause any problems for the player, right? Yeah, maybe for the Japanese players. Because in America, this game caused many problems. You know that part about a boss showing up every 10 levels? Well, let's just say that's what was missing from the American version. On the 30th level of the game, you're supposed to fight this boss, who isn't even that hard. The problem is, when you get to him in the American version, well, you're left staring at an empty room. Where's the boss? I'd like to know too. In fact, everyone wanted to know where the hell the boss of this level went, because no matter what you do, it will never appear. Because who knows how? During the localization, some very smart person deleted the boss from the level. And since nobody at Quality Assurance noticed, they just shipped the game like that. The worst part is, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal if you could just move on to level 31 and continue the game. But you can't. It is impossible to pass the level without beating this boss. And so, you are trapped, eternally, on level 30. With absolutely nothing to do. Obviously, the game was recalled a few months later, but by then, the damage was done. And that's all I've got for today. What's the most ridiculous game-breaking bug you've ever hit? Let me know down below. If you liked the video, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll catch you in the next one.